Namaskar. Hello, friends. Today we will talk about spiritual experience. Churn the curd to get butter and eat it to experience it. Confucius, the renowned Chinese philosopher, said, I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. As a spiritual seeker, one may read holy scriptures, spiritual literature by renowned thinkers, attend discourses, etc. That is like having curd. But unless and until one churns the curd, one can't get butter out of it. Similarly, unless one churns the inputs received, that is, unless one contemplates on them in his mind, he cannot get the essence, that is butter, out of it. Satsang, that is company of spiritually minded people, either in the form of actual get-togethers where spiritual discussions take place, or on social networking platforms like Facebook, provides that opportunity for churning. Writing a blog or commenting on someone else's blog also makes one contemplate. During contemplation, our mind raises questions and itself tries to find answers, thereby increasing the assimilated knowledge. It is similar to a teacher benefiting by teaching a class of students who are interactive and who ask a lot of questions. However, this activity should be done not from an egoistic stance, but in God consciousness. In other words, one should not think that he knows a lot and that he would like others to benefit from this knowledge. Instead, one should perform it as his karma without thinking about its fruit, namely who benefits from it. The benefit is in the realm of the Creator, and he will take care of it in accordance with his big picture for this creation. Finally, there is no point in simply having the butter. You must eat it and experience it. Similarly, the spiritual essence one derives by churning the inputs received has to be put into practice to experience its benefit for oneself. That is why our revered gurus exhort us to experience through actual practice at least one principle every day from the spiritual injunctions given by the great saints and seers. It is no good knowing all the spiritual concepts. It is important to contemplate on the applicability of those concepts in every life situation and to actually put it into practice. Otherwise, we will be like a donkey that simply carries scriptures on its back and does not know its value. Spiritual fruit is high up, but trunk and branches are accessible. The objective of a spiritual seeker may be intangible, something that he hasn't seen or experienced so far with his own senses. For example, the concept of moksha as a spiritual objective is intangible. We may define it in terms of the known language constructs like liberation from the repeated cycles of birth and death. But have we experienced repeated lives? No, not in a way that we can recall in the consciousness that we operate at. Something similar is true of most other spiritual objectives like realizing absolute truth, realizing oneness of everything, transcending the limited body-centered self, etc. We do not know what these mean until the time, and if at all, we experience these firsthand. However, that does not necessarily make the spiritual seeking of these objectives pointless. It is like someone tasting a rare fruit and describing its great taste to others. Until others also taste that fruit, they won't know what it is like. But at the same time, if that person who has tasted the fruit is trustworthy, people will believe that such a fruit exists and that it must be tasting great. Of course, there will always be many doubting Thomases also who will not believe this person. Similarly, sincere spiritual seekers believe that the spiritual objectives are worth pursuing because many trustworthy sages have vouched for them. But at the same time, there are many doubting Thomases who do not believe so, and they are happy pursuing the tangible worldly pursuits. Now, though the spiritual objectives are intangible, the means to achieve them have to be tangible, practical, and such as can be practiced by anybody desirous of it. Thus, we can look at it like a fruit tree. The fruits are high up, possibly hidden among thick foliage, but some people have climbed the tree and seen and tasted the fruits. However, the roots of the tree are well grounded in the earth, making it stable, and its trunk and branches are accessible, so that one who is desirous of tasting the fruits can climb up the tree and reach the fruits. Similarly, the means, that is sadhana, to achieve the spiritual goals have to be worldly. They have to be described in a way that can be practiced from the word go. In that sense, they may often be described in negative terms with respect to the physical worldly life. For example, one of the means may be reducing unnecessary eating of excess food, or limiting and regulating daily sleep, reducing clutter of unnecessary things in our life, limiting our needs, reducing emotional attachment to our near and dear ones. The other practices are getting up early at dawn and sitting down for meditation, reading spiritual literature, giving away our wealth in charity, giving our time for serving the needy, etc. These these appear properly rooted in the worldly life and perfectly accessible, though admittedly not very easy to put into practice. But whoever said that rare fruit is easy to obtain? The very fact that it is rare makes it, by definition, difficult to obtain. Excuse me. Spirituality is not an instant elixir. When we get interested in pursuing a spiritual path, what do we expect to achieve? I suspect that most of us, including myself, may not be very clear where it will take us. It is also likely that a large majority of the spiritual seekers expect some kind of a miracle that will overnight transform their life for better. Some expect that God's grace that will come on them as a result of their spiritual pursuit will make their day-to-day problems disappear just like that, at the snap of a finger. Some others expect to experience and even be able to perform minor miracles to get impressed as also to impress others, so on and so forth, to each his own. What should the right and realistic expectation from a spiritual pursuit be? First and foremost, a spiritual seeker should not expect any positive impact of his spiritual pursuit on his worldly life. In other words, he should not expect his worldly problems to disappear just like that. A sincere spiritual pursuit will help the seeker change his outlook towards worldly life so that what appeared as problems and preoccupied his mind overmuch will no longer disturb his inner peace. He will be able to accept good and bad in an equanimous manner. Secondly, the goal of spiritual seeking can only be vaguely described as self realization, attaining Godhood, realizing Brahman, realizing absolute truth, etc. But it is not possible for most seekers to exactly visualize what it means. So, the spiritual pursuit should be understood in a negative sense, namely, it is basically moving away from worldly pursuits with a firm faith that he has to reach the real goal because there is nowhere else to go. It is like a river which has to merge with the ocean. It has nowhere else to go. Lastly, the progress on a spiritual path, more often than not, is very gradual. Our revered Guru says that one cannot become a graduate straight away. One has to spend a certain number of years and go through primary, secondary school and college education before he can become a graduate. It's no different in spiritual pursuit. A seeker has to be patient as regards the results, persevering in his sadhana, and remain faithful to his Guru and God. I will stop here today and see you the next time. Until then, bye. Take care.